back to Jazz FM 91's Where Are They Now series, a series that features artists that have been through our education and outreach programs. We are coming to you live from the Long and McQuaid Performance Hall at Jazz FM 91, and I'm excited to be joined by our guest today, Aline Homzy. And Aline, thank you for coming in.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
For those of us who are joining in the chat, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in there. John Saba Jabi, our digital content specialist, will be monitoring the chat and will let us know if you have any questions or comments. And I want to let you all know a little bit about Aline. And as with some of our guests so far, Aline has a very extensive bio, so I've tried to pare it down just a little bit. Aline Homzy is an award-winning violinist and composer. Originally from Montreal, born to a Québécois mom, and and an American dad with Eastern European roots. Aline's original music reflects her cultural diverse background. Aline has played on multiple Juno-nominated albums recorded for internationally recognized artists such as David Occhipinti, Andrew Downing, Amanda Tosoff, Ed Sheeran, Danilo Perez, and many more. And Aline was recently named one of 20 rising star jazz violinists in the 73rd Downbeat Magazine Critics Poll. Congrats. Since moving to Toronto, Aline has formed a couple of her own bands, including the swing band Les Petits Nouveaux, which held a 10-year-long weekly residency at La Rêve. And the most recent project, Aline's Étoile Magique, which was born when Aline recognized the low presence of women in the improvised music scene. For this group, she gathered some of Toronto's best musicians, including Magdalise Savine, of Okan, and Fung, a runner-up for this year's Toronto Arts Foundation Breakthrough Jazz Artist Award, and Edinburgh's Emma Smith, to each play a set of original music at the Canadian Music Centre. Through this venture, Aline released her 2023 album Eclipse, which featured vibraphonist Michael Davidson, guitarist Thomas Gill, and bassist Dan Fortin, which garnered much attention, including a 4.5-star review in Downbeat Magazine. Currently, Aline is on faculty at Humber Polytechnic and regularly plays for the popular Candlelight concert series. Aline is also working on new projects, one with songs in French and one relating to the underworld, which she developed during composition residencies as a fellow at both Hambidge Center for the Arts and the Wurlitzer Foundation. Aline was a member of the selection panel for our Discover Women in Jazz concert series, presented in partnership with the Pat and Tony Adams Freedom Fund for the Arts in the inaugural season and the second season. That was back in 2021 and 2022. And Aline was also featured on Jazzology, supported by RBC Foundation, back in 2011-2012, when she was a student at Humber College. Mm-hmm. I cut some things out, so we have a lot to talk about.
Great.
Awesome.
Great.
So, Aline, I want to talk first about Montreal. Mm-hmm. What was your upbringing like?
Yeah, so I had a very musical upbringing. Yeah. My dad taught in the jazz studies department at Concordia for many years. And so I guess you could surmise that that's maybe where I got my interest in jazz. Mm-hmm. But I have an older sister as well who plays violin. So the two of us went through the Suzuki method. And for those that don't know, like, the Suzuki method involves a lot of playing by ear and more in the classical realm, but still like a lot of learning kind of like in group settings and like with other people and by ear. And I also, like, I extensively did classical music violin studies and in Montreal and kind of found, like, I guess that I wasn't as inspired by recreating music by mostly dead white men. But I really wanted to explore kind of like my creativity, and so I started very gently exploring jazz with my dad, and kind of like he would have me like write little compositions when I was really little that like I look at them now, I'm like, wow, like this doesn't make any sense, but it's very cool.
Yeah.
And then, I kind of, when I moved to Toronto is really when I started to get more and more into jazz on the violin.
So you mentioned your dad was teaching jazz at Concordia. What's his instrument of choice?
So his instrument is actually the tuba.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So my dad has a very interesting story. He doesn't like to say it in these terms, but I think it's the simplest way to explain it. He's basically a Vietnam War draft dodger. So he was in Cleveland, Ohio, and like did not want to participate in the war. And it was right at the time where he was going to pursue a master's degree. So he got into McGill. Yeah. And like basically couldn't return to the U.S. because there was a warrant for his arrest.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's really intense. But he was at McGill on tuba. Yeah. And he was actually the first person in Canada to do a thesis on jazz. And it was about early jazz. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is your mom a musician as well?
Yeah. She also studied the bass, both double bass and electric bass. Although when my sister was born, she kind of let it go because it was very, as you know, it's a very physical instrument.
For sure.
But a bit later on, she used to come and play with us in the orchestra, in the youth orchestra, which was really nice.
So mom was double bass and electric guitar, or
and
electric bass.
Yeah.
Dad was tuba, into jazz. How did you and your sister end up playing classical violin?
Yeah, good question. I think for my parents, it was really important to find like a good teacher that they connected with. And I think they did like a bit of research and seeing like what teachers were around in Montreal at the time. Yeah. And it wasn't really even based on the instrument. It was more based on like pedagogy and who seemed to have like a really good studio of students and things like that. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So you're currently a faculty member at Humber. So I don't think me asking this question is off-putting, I hope. You decided to come to Toronto, I'm assuming to attend Humber College.
Yes.
Why Humber?
Good question. Yeah. So it was kind of between McGill and Humber. Yeah. And I think I just really wanted to have a change. And I figured I could move to Toronto, and if I didn't like it, I could always go back. Yep. But I think I kind of pushed myself to just go out of Montreal for a bit and just explore something different. And I came here not knowing anybody really and just kind of dove into to the scene here. Yeah.
Well, you're still here.
I am still here.
So I'm assuming you liked it.
Yeah.
So Humber, when did you start at Humber?
So I was there in 2008 and I graduated in 2012. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a bit now.
Beautiful. Yeah. So Jazzology would have happened in your final year.
Exactly.
Can you tell me a little bit about what was going on with you artistically and musically at that time?
Yeah. So in the final year at Humber, there's a really amazing project that happens. Is we all get to record an EP as part of like our school requirements in a beautiful studio. So at that point, I was working on that music. What I did was a duo recording with an amazing piano player, Andrew Kessler. Yep. And so the two of us collaborated on this album that's called The Dragon Suite.
Okay. And is that still out and available for people to listen to?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's out there. But yeah, it's a really interesting kind of like convergence, I guess, of like classical chamber music and improvising and jazz harmony and form that we were both like in similar places, I think, like coming from a classical training, but really like delving into like a heavy jazz love and understanding and
Okay, so at that time I definitely was not at Jazz FM.
Right.
What was the process like for you in terms of being selected for it, the offer being extended, coming in to record with Brad, all of that stuff?
Yeah, so I think the school nominated, like, I guess some of the students that they thought were deserving of recognition. I think at that time it is maybe a little different than it is now in the way that they select people. But I remember just being like really, really excited that I was nominated and selected for the opportunity to come in to the studio. And I remember like I prepared like all this music I wanted to share with the audience, and I had a really nice time chatting with Brad, and it was, I just really cherished that experience, and I just loved being in this environment and having that opportunity.
Beautiful. And was that your first sort of media interview?
I would say so. Yeah.
First of many.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'm glad we could be a part of that.
So thankful.
Yeah. And how did that impact your career trajectory post experience?
I think I just like loved the idea of sharing music. Like, as you said, that was probably like my first interview, and actually the first time that I shared like my original music too with like a radio audience. And I just felt like really connected to that process, and just being able to also share like my story and share about like the music that I loved and that maybe some people wouldn't be so familiar with. And I think I carry that with me in the projects that I do too. In terms of writing original compositions, but also sharing music by other composers that I really think deserves to be elevated and shared.
Yeah, beautiful. And I met you, it would have been 2022. I think the second year of Discover Women in Jazz. So in that span of a decade, you've done a lot.
Yes.
Can you fill us in on some of the things that you've been up to?
Oh my goodness, yes. I guess you mentioned in my bio that I played in a group called Les Petits Nouveaux.
Yep.
So that was a big part of like when I finished studying at Humber. We actually formed this ensemble at Humber. And then we really wanted to keep playing together. It's this great Swedish guitarist, Mikko Hilden is his name. So him and I were in the ensemble at Humber, and he especially was really in charge of making sure that the band would continue.
Right.
And so he's actually the first person who like contacted Indira, who sadly passed away. But he set up basically the music program at La Rêve. And this was like now over 10 years ago, like 15 years ago, close to 15 years ago. So so we played there for over 10 years. And then when the pandemic hit is kind of when I backed out of it. But actually there still is one of the members of the band, Tak, still plays every Friday.
Awesome.
With his trio. So it still lives on, which is amazing.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And Etoile Magique, that came post-pandemic. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about why that project came into being, how?
Yeah, so actually, I guess the first edition of it was the CMC concert that you were mentioning, kind of highlighting all these different women band leaders. And that was like the first performance of this ensemble as a band, where I had this music that I'd been kind of working on, and I didn't really know where it fit or who to play with, but I had like an idea of the people I wanted to play with in my head. And then I got a grant to record the album, but this was like before the pandemic, so I had to wait like quite a long time. I kept like putting it off because of all the restrictions, and then finally we decided to go to this amazing little studio near Kingston, Ontario. It's called the Bathhouse, and we just kind of made a bubble for a week, and we recorded, and it was like one of the best experiences that I've had as, you know, a band leader, but also as being a part of a group and doing something together. And that's what Eclipse became. And
No, it's a beautiful album.
Thank you.
People have not checked it out yet. They definitely should. Let's talk about composing. So you went through the 4-year program at Humber. Did did you do any post-grad work?
Not through any institutions, but I had a number of grants to go study independently with people. So I went to New York and spent 2 months there studying with amazing arranger. His name is Cy Johnson. He's sadly passed away, but he was actually like Charles Mingus's right-hand man when Charles was sick. So at the end of his life, he was kind of dictating to Cy, like, you need to put these notes down on the page. Like, these are the ideas I'm hearing. And so Cy also took care of arranging a lot of the music that Mingus was sharing at the end. And also that there's a number of Mingus bands that play still in New York.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the arrangements that they play are by Cy.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that was a pretty big kind of post-Humber education experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what sort of drives your compositional pursuits?
I think a lot of it has to do with just like being really excited to share music with people and connecting with people. And I think I get like a lot of inspiration from just like my environment. Like I like to spend a lot of time outside, just like observing birds or plants, flowers, whatever you name it. I love animals too. And I get really inspired just by like kind of like maybe more like little mundane things that like, you know, just like everyday kind of things. And like even on my album, like the first track is called Caraway, and it's like people are like, oh, why is it like, what's that title about? Like, what's the story behind that? And I'm like, you know, it's literally I had a bagel and it had caraway seeds in it, and I thought it tasted amazing. And then I was like, that's what this tune is going to be called. So just inspiration from kind of everyday things. Yeah.
Awesome. Where do I want to go? Well, you've done a lot of side person work and a lot of leader work as well. Can you speak to some of the differences in what those require from you? And not what your preference is, because I think we'd all prefer to play our own music, but what has been fulfilling about each of those aspects?
Yeah, I think especially coming out of school, I had some amazing experiences playing, for example, with the David Okapinti camera ensemble, which really like kind of opened up my eyes to the possibilities of like what it's like to be a musician living in Canada and like touring and recording and collaborating on some levels. And yeah, I think just those kinds of experiences, I feel like they really nourish like my own playing and like my own compositions too, because I'm very inspired also by like the musicians I play with. And I think it just like taught me a lot about how to be a band leader and like what I personally like in band leaders, and that I can apply to my own kind of when I care for the musicians in my band. It's a lot of that comes from the experiencing being cared for by other band leaders.
Beautiful. Ties a little bit into Discover Women in Jazz. So you were a part of the selection panel for the first 2 years of that program. Can you tell me what being a part of that meant for you?
I absolutely love being a part of this kind of initiative. I think because I didn't really have that when I was younger. I think like I really lacked having like mentorship and support, especially from like a community of like women or, you know, gender diverse people. And I really took it to heart, and I really like loved being kind of just like a part of the decision making of like, you know, these people really deserve to be highlighted and supported. And then also like with the role of mentorship too, like kind of guiding people through, when they're at the start of their career, it can be really helpful to have kind of someone there showing you what's available to you.
Sure.
And
Yeah, beautiful. And I do want to be mindful of our time. So I should probably ask you some questions to slowly wind down.
Sure.
You just spoke to mentoring some younger artists at the beginning of their career. What is some advice you would have given yourself when you were first starting out?
I think just this is advice that I have that I think I was pretty good with when I was a student and also when I recently graduated, but I see a trend of this dwindling a bit. And I just want to say, if you are serious about music, go out and see live music.
Yep.
That's the one thing that I really feel helped me be a part of the community and the scene in Toronto.
Yeah.
And you go out, people recognize you and they think, oh, I need a violinist for this thing. I saw Aline on Friday.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask her to be a part of this thing. If you're around and if you're physically present and interested in what your community is presenting, you will also be supported by that community.
Beautiful.
So that's one of the big things I like to try and convince my students that it's a good thing to do.
Yep.
It's hard, but yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And can you tell, you have a couple two new projects that you're working on. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Yeah. So the first one that you kind of mentioned about the underworld. Yeah. So that project is called Ghost Girl.
Okay.
And it's kind of it's kind of transformed throughout the last year. I had a playing residency at the Transac over the course of 6 months. And I wrote one tune per week. Or per month. Sorry. My goodness, per week. That would be a lot. Per month. For every show that we had. And kind of they were inspired by ghost stories. Some of them local ghost stories. So it was really fun to delve into that. And then I had this residency for 3 months in New Mexico at the Wurlitzer Foundation. And I got really into the lore of that area, which is heavily influenced by witches.
Okay.
So it sounds very esoteric or metaphysical, but I'm not that. It's just, I just got very interested in the stories of these women who are vilified because they're different or they look different, or a lot of blame was put on these women for things that happened. And it's tragic. I just really connected with that part of it. And so a lot of the music also revolves around that theme of women just going through things and being rebels, really. Yeah.
And any sort of timeline on when we can expect to see that out in the world?
I mean, the music is all written. I'm just waiting for some grant results. Who knows? Hopefully in the next year. Yeah. Awesome. I'm really excited about the project. So it's going to happen soon. But yeah.
And we do have a question, and this is coming from Winston. Winston is curious about how the Montreal jazz scene compares to Toronto's jazz scene.
Hi, Winston. That's a really good question. Montreal is such a beautiful city. Honestly, it's one of my favorite cities in the world, hands down. But it is a smaller city than Toronto is. And I think there's also a lot of influence from kind of Europe, and it's also closer to New York, which I find very interesting. So there's kind of a New York and European influence in Montreal that's a little different from Toronto. I think both scenes have very open-minded musicians, and especially in Toronto, though, I would say there's just such a wide variety of genres that you just end up having to play because that's how you need to survive in Toronto. Whereas in Montreal, the cost of living, though it's getting a little crazy now, is a little bit more reasonable. So you can kind of focus more on like what you really want to do and are interested in. So yeah, that's kind of some differences.
Awesome. Winston, thank you so much for your question. I just got one more question before I let you go. Maybe I'll have a follow-up. I don't know yet. Downbeat, they recognized you as one of 20 rising jazz violinists in their most recent poll. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, it was such a surprise. Honestly, I saw that the critics poll came out and I just thought, oh, like, wouldn't it be so funny if I was on that? And I just was like, I'm not even going to check because there's just no way that I'm going to be on that list. And then like someone that I don't know that well messaged me on Instagram and they're like, congratulations on the Downbeat Critics Poll. And I was like, what? So I like tracked down a digital copy and I was like, oh my gosh, sure enough, my name is there. So yeah, it's a really amazing recognition of for me and honestly for my band too, because it really comes from that the album Eclipse that you know was reviewed by all these critics. And so it's a true honor, but honestly, like so many people deserve to be on those lists. You know, it's just a list, and so many people I know, I'm like, like you also deserve so much recognition. So I want to share that. Like, you know, it's not just me, but it's my community that made me get there. So yeah.
Awesome. So aside from teaching at Humber, where can people find you nowadays?
Yeah, I guess I'm around in Toronto. I play a lot for the Candlelight concert series, doing all kinds of programs from Metallica to A.R. Rahman to Bollywood, Punjabi music. So there's a huge variety of things I do in that scene, but also I do produce my own concerts with my bands from now and then. And probably the best way to find out is through my Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. And what is your Instagram?
Yeah. So it's at Homzya. So HOMZYA.
Awesome. And we have a little follow-up from Winston. Winston mentioned being curious due to the trend of Vancouver artists moving to Montreal as opposed to Toronto.
You know what? I think that has a lot to do with the cost of living in Montreal. And I think also maybe the reputation of McGill University's jazz program, like I was saying, because they have this, you know, they're closer to New York and also the French speaking language. McGill has an amazing faculty, including Jean-Michel Pilk and John Hollenbeck. So I think that attracts a lot of people to the school and therefore the city.
Right.
And but I think a lot of it has to do with, I don't know, it's just Montreal is just such a free kind of like joie de vivre kind of environment that I think attracts people.
I think I'll need a translation on that one.
A joie de vivre is like just like the joy of living life.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew what V means.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think I might be out of... Actually, no, I do want to ask you one last question before I let you go. How has your artistic vision changed since participating in Jazzology all the way back in 2011 or 2012, your final year?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's such a long span of time, and I think at that time I was just really like excited about being done school and playing with tons of people, going on tours, and just kind of like being thrown into like a career in music. And I think now I'm much more conscious of my time and energy for myself, and reflecting on how like I can really give, I guess, like my energy and time, and through my own teaching, like at Humber, like I really want to support my students and have that role of mentorship too. And just focus on writing music that means something to me.
Beautiful. Well, with that, Aline, I will let you get on with your day.
Thank you so much, Jelani, for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in. And to all those tuning in, thank you guys for tuning in. Winston, thank you for your questions and comments. Let me just make sure. Yep, that's it. Awesome. Once again, this is our Where Are They Now series at Jazz FM 91, where we're highlighting some artists who have been through our education and outreach programs over the year. Thank you to our guests for today, Aline Homzy. Are featured in Jazzology back in 2011-2012. Thanks.
Thank you so much.